Well, hello there folks, and welcome back to the Whisky Friend with me, Alan. It's another week. You know what that means? It's another brand new video. Today's video, folks, is going to be a little bit different to my normal video. I was planning on reviewing the 18-year-old Deanston, but something's came up quite recently on previous videos that I've done. I've checked into pricing of whiskey, so whiskey pricing's became a little bit of a theme. Looking back when I did my old Pulteney review, just to give an example, that the rebranding and the price increasing, just no one could justify the price increase. So just to give you a little thought, I got a text message from a friend this week whose uncle was having a special birthday and they were looking for some advice on a bottle of whiskey to buy. So what I usually do is I redirect them to the whiskey sites, the Whisky Exchange, the Master of Malt, places like that, and they usually find their way around from then. But I got a call from my friend saying, listen, I need some help, can I come over? So I says, yeah, come and see me. So when he arrived, he felt, when he went onto the whiskey sites, it was an absolute minefield. Sherry whiskies, Speyside whiskies, Island whiskies. How would he choose? And then it came to pricing. And in regards, this may be something that's quite interesting for newbies to whiskey. If you're a malt head, you may have your way of finding out what you buy and how you buy it. The problem he had was, did he buy a 12-year-old whiskey for 30 quid? Or did he buy an 18-year-old from the same distillery for 110 quid? And he couldn't justify, how could he justify the price difference in that? And I know in the comments some of you guys are going to say, yeah, it takes longer to produce it. There's better casks, there's better bits and pieces. So there's lots of reasons why there's a price increase. But when you look through each different distillery and you look through each different region, some of the price variances are mind-blowing. So to give you an example, I could get a Highland Park online for about £30. If I looked around maybe in the supermarkets here in the UK, I could 9 times out of 10 pick it up for £25. But if I wanted an 18-year-old, it was £110. So where is the comparison with the price? How do they work that price out? Glenfiddich, I could buy a Glenfiddich for £25, but I could buy an 18-year-old for £69, which for me seems a bit more realistic. The one that I did a couple of videos back was the 17-year-old Old Pulteney. I could buy that for £77, but the new 18 is £113 to £120. So for that extra year, where does that price hike come from? So I'm sure the guys will put lots of comments. I'm really interested to find out how you choose your whiskey. What I'm going to do, I'm going to just have a little sip of this Deanston 12. I've actually poured the Deanston 18, so I'm going to compare both of these to see whether I would be better value for money would be just to buy the 12-year-old and stick with the 12-year-old, or is the 18-year-old worth the £84 that's currently running at? So without any further ado, guys, I'm going to have a little sip of the Deanston 12. Which I have reviewed this in the past. I'll pop a link in if you want to go back and have a look at it. Wow. As I said in my previous video, this is awesome whiskey, and I can buy this for anywhere from kind of £38 to about £42. So for me, that 12-year-old is great value for money. The 18-year-old, which has been sitting in the glass now for about 10 minutes, so I'm going to leave that a little bit longer and let it really open up, and then decide whether the £84 for me is worth, or will I just keep buying the 12-year-old. And that's the comparison. I've actually taken some notes, guys, so I may be reverting to some notes as we go through. But yeah, this Deanston 12, it's beautiful. This is, for me now, is pretty much a kind of, it'll always be in the cabinet at that kind of money. As long as it stays at that money, it's 46%. Or yeah, just double check that, it's 46.3%. Unchill filtered, natural colour, which is great. What I used to do in whiskey, guys, I don't know if you have a little bit of feedback on my whiskey journey, is that I've been collecting for about 10 years, and I actually went through 7 years with just collecting whiskey without actually drinking a drop of it, until I got some presents, some gifts, and I just started trying the gifts. Quite liked the taste of the whiskey, got initially into it, and then the rest is history. Now I'm pretty much now buying whiskey to drink, but and I'm looking at it as, is it value for money, or is it overpriced? How do you decide? If you're a newbie and you're out looking to buy gifts for someone, how do you decide whether you decide on that £110, or do you just buy the £31 bottle? So hopefully I'll get into that in a wee bit more detail as we're going forward. I'm going to concentrate on 12-year-olds and 18-year-olds. I know when you get into, it's mind-boggling when you go from region to region. You've got price variances, and when you go from 40% to cask strength bottles, there's a difference. And then when you get into limited editions and non-age statements, the whole pricing thing just becomes one big, I don't know what the word is, but it just becomes a minefield of how do you know if you're getting value for money. So hopefully we're going to try and drill a little bit down today. I'm going to try not to make this a boring and depressing and anti-18-year-olds and anti-12-year-old whiskies. Hopefully the point of it is to find out how you guys decide what's in your bar. If you decide to go out and splash out some cash on a bottle, how do you decide you do that? One of the ways I do it is I use the little samples. So I'd buy a sample and try it and make my mind up from there. I'd love to know if you can pop a comment how you guys decide which bottles to buy and which bottles to stay away from. One of the interesting things that also came out in some of the comments I'd been receiving over the last few weeks is some people will say that they love that bottle, and I'll give you an example. The Springbank 15 that I've just done, a lot of people have said, particularly overseas, maybe in Canada or America, or not in the UK, that they've tried it, they've liked it, but they found it really, really expensive where they are. So obviously when I looked at the Springbank 15, it was costing me about £55, but some people in Canada and America say that it's really, really expensive. Other ones that were the old Pultneys, 17s and the 21s, you can't get them for love nor money in the UK. You'd have to go to auction and pay £250 to get a 21, but it's readily available apparently in the US. 17, the shelves are stacked with it, and it's quite reasonably priced there. So again, you've got price variance in different markets than you have in the UK. Some it's easy to get here, some it's difficult to get here, some it's reasonably priced here, and abroad it's easy to get but it's super expensive. So again, it's that minefield. So getting back to my friend, we actually sat down and we looked at, and I'm trying to explain this in a manner that didn't confuse him, and hopefully I'm not going to do that in the video today. But we looked at regions. So he says, what's the difference with a region? So I went through explaining Speyside, Highland, Lowland, Islands, Isla, all the different categories, and then looking at pricing. But when you look at the pricing, I'll just give you some examples, guys, just to if you look at let's take a Dalmore 12 at 40%, it'll cost you £42 in the UK. So I'd be interested to find out what that would cost overseas in different parts of the world. But when you go to the 18, it becomes £107. For me, that's a massive hike in price. And again, you get 43%, so there's a little bit more alcohol. But does it justify, would I spend money on £107 for the 18-year-old? Or would I just stick and pay my 42 for the 12-year-old? One of the other examples which jumped out was, as I said earlier, was the Highland Park. £31 normally. You can get it on offer quite often at 25. But a Highland Park 18 will cost you at least £110 in the UK. Massive price hikes. One of the others that kind of stuck out was Bunnahabhain 12, £44, 46.3% alcohol. Bunnahabhain 18, 46.3% alcohol, £105. So again, there's a massive hike in prices. So to somebody coming on who's new to whiskey, trying to decide, and I know this friend of mine's uncle, it was a special birthday, so he wanted to pick a special whiskey, but he just couldn't decide how to do it. So again, we tried to drill down. I'll come on to later, we did actually find a bottle for him to buy, and we actually got there, and I'll try and let you know how we got to picking that bottle. Again, when you look at Laphroaig 18, £175 for an 18-year-old Laphroaig. I can't seem to find if they do a 12-year-old Laphroaig, but 10-year-old, you can buy a 10-year-old for anything from £25. So I know there is a difference between a Laphroaig 18 and a Laphroaig 10, but would you buy a Laphroaig 10 cash strength over the 18 and save some money? So it really gets interesting. Glendronach 12, £40, 43% ABV. Glendronach 18, £87, but 46% ABV. So I know I've done Glendronach in the past as well, and I love the Glendronach 12. And I also love the Glendronach 18. So the 18 has obviously been one of my favourite whiskies all this year. But when you compare the 42 against 87, in this case, I don't think the 87 is too much to pay for that Glendronach. So that's one of the ones that I was quite happy to pay the extra. But I'll also buy the 12-year-old as well. So both of those for me were fantastic. It's then when you go into the 21, you're paying a wee bit more for the 21. It's whether I would pay that difference to go from the 18 to the 21. I think I would always stick with the 18 rather than the 21. One of the ones that is absolutely beggars belief is Macallan 18. £325 for a Macallan 18. And that varies. You pick up a Macallan again at £35, £40, £50, £60. Macallan goes right through the range. I've recently again reviewed the Macallan Edition 4, which is just behind me here. Picked that up for £79. Would I buy that over £325 for the 18? Mind blowing. One of the other ones again I found was quite interesting. Bowmore 18, £84 for the 43% alcohol. 12-year-old, 36%. Again, I could pick it up on offer. But even to a degree, again, you can buy a half bottle, 35 cl Bowmore for £25. So even between the full bottle and the half bottle, there's only £11 difference. So again, I know it goes on and on and on and on. I'm really interested to find out what you guys do. So again, I'm going to have a little sip now of the Deanston 18. As I say, it's been sitting here now for about 20 minutes, and we'll try and find out. I'll give you a little bit of tasting notes on this as well. This is from ex-bourbon casks, this, guys. Again, it's natural colour and it is non-chill filtered. Again, as usual with Deanston, it's 46.3%. Straight up front, guys, are getting toffee, fudge, and it's a bit malty. Spicy, and it's grassy. As it goes through the nose, there's a little bit of citrus coming in, and I'm getting a beautiful honey note. Smells quite sweet, and it's actually a really engaging nose, guys. It seems well balanced on the nose, and it's quite complex on the nose. There's lots going on, and I've got a little nutty note coming in there at the end. Let's taste it. On the first taste, guys, it's assertive. It's spicy. It's very mouth-watering, and it's very sweet. It's like a sweet, maybe some barley sugar sweetness. Touch of floral. It's actually quite syrupy, and it's got a lovely mouthfeel. Spices coming in a bit more on the end there. Let's try a little bit more. As it develops, it's quite delicate, quite subtle. I think this does need a little bit of time in the glass, guys. I've got that fudgy and toffee note as well, and then I've got some vanilla. On the finish, it's sweet, it's long, it's quite warming. There's a little woody note on the finish. It's quite nutty, and there's a bit of marzipan right on the end. And it's quite spicy. So all in all, again, it's a beautiful whiskey. Would I pay the £84 for this? I think I would, guys. I don't feel that £84 is over the odds for an 18-year-old whiskey, which is unchill filtered, it's natural colour, it's 46.3%. It's spent 18 years in a cask. It's been left untouched. I'd be quite happy to pay that kind of money. I'll still continue to buy the 12-year-old at £40, and I'll quite happily enjoy that. But I would recommend the Deanston 18 for someone who wanted to buy that special bottle. How I used to decide and how my pricing structure would be, if it was a 10-year-old to a 12-year-old with an age statement, and I know you can get some that are higher ABVs, non-chill filtered, natural colour, you've got some that are chill filtered, you've got some that are coloured, you've got some at the 40% ABVs. So as the pricing, my bracket would be kind of 20 to 40 would be a 10-year-old to a 12-year-old. To give an example, I could quite readily pick up a Aberlour 10 for £20. I could pick up an Old Pulteney 12 for £25. I could pick up a Glenfiddich 12 for £25. and I could pick up Glendronach 12 for £40. I could pick up an Ardbeg 10 for £40. So when you compare the Ardbeg 10 and the Aberlour 10, then you've got £20 and you've got £40. I would buy both because I've tasted what's in the two bottles, and I know that the Ardbeg 10 is worth £40 of anybody's money, and I know that the Aberlour 10 is worth anybody's money at £20. So then the next category I would go into 12-year-olds, taking maybe 16-year-olds. So I'd be looking at maybe kind of £50 to £70. And where I mean there, I could easily pick up a Lagavulin 16 for about £50. Incredible value. I could pick up anything in that kind of bracket. Again, you'd be looking at 46.3%, 40 ABVs, no colours, no added chill filtering. So the prices, that's where it varies. So at the bottom end, I'm probably looking maybe £50 to £70. And then when I look at the 18-year-olds, 16s to 18-year-olds, I wouldn't want to go anywhere over £100. So that's where I'd be quite happy to buy the Glendronach 18 at £80, £85. I'd be happy to pay the Talisker 18 at £75, £85, something like that. I'd be quite happy to do them. But then once I start hitting the £100 bracket, that's where I start to look up and say, wait a minute, am I spending too much? And the examples I spoke about earlier is Dalmore 107, Highland Park 110, Lafroig 175, Macallan 325 for the 18s. Old Pulteney £77 for the 17-year-old, £120 for the 18-year-old. Is that price justified? I'm not sure. I've seen some reviews about the old Pulteney 18, and the new old Pulteney range is getting some good reviews. The only stickling point seems to be the pricing, is where the pricing has come from. So that's my take, guys. I hope I've not bored you too much. If you're a newbie and you found it interesting, please drop me a comment, throw me a thumbs up. If you're an old established malt head, if you can still drop me a thumbs up, that'd be great. If you can let me know how you decide what's too much, where do you draw the line, how do you decide whether you decide to buy a bottle or not. Do you do what I do and use an old sample and try it from the sample and make a decision? Do you watch reviews? Do you, as a people that you follow on YouTube that you seem to have similar often? Do you swap bottles? I know some people swap bottles with friends, neighbours, and find out that way. Again, drop me a comment, let me know. My friend's bottle, we did get him one. We drilled it down, we found out that he liked Talisker. So we decided to go for the Talisker 18. He paid £75 for it, which he was happy to pay £75 for. His uncle was happy with his bottle. My friend was happy with the money that he paid. So everyone's happy. The uncle is enjoying the old Talisker bottle now as we speak. So all ends well, all starts well and ends well. I hope we've got there. I'm Alan, I'm the Whisky Friend. If you've liked it, drop me a comment, throw me a thumbs up. If you've watched before and you're a returning subscriber, then thanks very much and welcome back. And if you've not watched before and you're watching for the first time, you may want to consider clicking that subscribe button down below and maybe hitting the bell for future notifications. And until next time, hope to see you soon, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much. Bye bye.